Welcome to What's Path to Purpose show, where we share inspiring stories from our path to purpose. My name is Katja from Karma Cleanse, and I'm your host. Today, I'm interviewing Lady Gloria Starr, who is a transformational coach and wants to make a positive difference in the lives of many. She helps people dramatically increase their executive presence, image impact, knowledge of etiquette and manners, improve their business and social skills, maximize their communication skills, and leadership excellence. Welcome, Gloria. It's lovely to have you here with me today. I'm looking so much forward to learn from you and your path to purpose. So let's start. Before we dive into how you got where you are today, could you please share a little bit more about what you do? Because I know there is so much more than I could squeeze into that short introduction. So please tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thank you. I live my life for adventure and fun. So that attracts many different kinds of clients from all over the world. I've had the pleasure of working in more than 60 countries and with 125 nationalities. My mother was a photographer with National Geographic, so I assumed that my life would be filled with travel as well, and that's exactly how it turned out. The best education is travel and learning from other cultures.
Wow, I agree on that. I love traveling too, and like how my journey has taken me to different places, and learning from different cultures is so important. And especially like I understood you also help others then to learn from the different social structures when you travel and do business in different countries. That can be very a deal breaker sometimes, even if you don't know the social manners.
Absolutely true. I have a lot of clients that are sending their people over to the Middle East or to China, and with American or Canadian companies, they really have no idea about the other culture. And every culture thinks they're right, and everyone else might not be quite on the right. Explain the differences and how to honor other people, I think is very important. It's not wrong, it's just different.
Exactly. And that's so fascinating. I would like to know more. How did you find this purpose? Like, I know your mom might have influenced a little bit with the travels and exploring the world. But how did you end up doing what you're doing now?
Well, as a child, my father thought that women, girls, would only be seen and never heard from. And his theory in life was jump and ask how high on the way up. Now, that is very authoritarian and obviously completely inappropriate. But in that era, that was almost for everyone that I knew. So, having been raised to be seen and never heard, it was in my 30s before I found my voice. I had no idea how to formulate a plan for business or even a life. And no education. I was kicked out of the house at 15 years old because he thought I should be out working and that girls didn't need an education. So in my 30s, having basically no voice or opinions, I knew that I needed to grow into something, but I had no idea what. So I use the analogy of, do you want to play in the sandbox of life? The small town leagues, the minor leagues, the major leagues, or the World Series. And I had a burning desire, but it sure took a long time to find out the strategies that actually would work. So I think life is ongoing, lots of learning, and the best learning is after you complete school.
Yes, and that's where we are here as well at school, constantly learning. And
That's
I hear that it must have been very challenging for you, like being so young age, 15. being kicked out from your home and
Yes.
then needing to start on your own. So what were the things that help you to go cope with that situation?
Well, fortunately, the best thing I was given in my life is a work ethic. And work basically was your entire life, work in church, but work was really important to me, and I'm a good worker. So
Mm.
I started with a full-time job as an apprentice as a floral designer, and then I worked nights serving at a drive-in restaurant, serving root beer and potato chips. It was ridiculous, but I've always worked extensively, and eventually, as I was no longer underage and illegal to work, then it got easier. I knew I needed an education, and so I put myself through 3 different college degrees while I was working full time. And eventually, not only was I going to college, I was also teaching adult education at that college 3 nights a week. So, no laziness in this girl. And it was all part of the path to learn. And learning is just my highest criteria.
I hear that, like 3 degrees and working full time, and there must have been such a drive. And what was that drive that kept you going? Because, yeah, that must have been like a lot of things happening, little time, but you still like, I want the education. I hear that very strongly, that there was a drive within, I need to have education. Just
Yes.
that.
And I took artistic levels of education, interior design, floral design, and photography. And I love all of those things, but I knew I wanted more in business. Fortunately, in each of those degrees, there was a lot of business knowledge that we were taught. And I went to college starting at 23 years old, so I was one of the old people. But also at 23 years old, I bought my first house. It was a duplex, and I rented it out to students so I could live rent free. That was really an experience.
I bet. And that's also learning from different people and adjusting, doing what you need to do in order to move forward in life.
Yes, but it wasn't till my early 30s that I realized that I needed to improve myself, and I wanted to be an image consultant all those years ago because that was really the only thing that interested me at that time. And I had no idea how to dress. I didn't own a business suit. I wanted to go into corporate America and train. However, at that point, I was living on a dairy farm and I really had nothing to dress in. So I spent what I thought was a fortune on a new suit, and I just plain put on the cloak of success and forced myself to find a voice.
Hmm. So, how did you force yourself? Because that could be some very valuable for others to share here as well, like your process, like finding a voice, because that's something so many people have a challenge with. And like, yes, we might have had challenges in the past, like upbringing, that where we are told not to speak or that we are not important or whatever messaging you might have received. And then we have this opportunity to discover our own voice again. So, what were the things that helped you on this path?
Well, so when I started to teach evening classes at the college to adults, I was quite young and they were many of them in their 50s. I remember being sick to my stomach the first time I was going to go in the class, and I thought, what on earth are you doing, you fool? However, I knew more about the subject than they did because I'd already been working for many years in the design industry, and I found a voice. And it helped me with my confidence because they looked up to me and I actually could formulate a sentence because I was so passionate about the subject that I was able to speak about it. It took forever to learn to accept compliments or to be recognized as an expert. And you just have to grow into those things. You have to tell yourself, I'm worthy and I can do this. And I think the fire in my belly was so strong that I wasn't going to give up no matter what. So, whether you're shedding tears or putting the covers back over your head that morning, you have to get up and prove to yourself. That's the first proof. Always prove to yourself. And eventually you find the voice, and you're so driven with internal passion that you can make the world a better place. And it starts with you, just you, and then leads out to others.
I love that. And there was something you said, like having the passion, like having your message. And that's my own experience as well. Like I was super shy when I was growing up. But then now when I have the passion, because I found the bigger cause. So it helped me to overcome the shyness because there was something that I wanted to share, a message for people. And that can be for others as well. Like you have your passion and you found it that gave the inner fire to continue through all those hardships and challenges. And then, like, finding the voice and doing this step by step. Like, okay, I know more than they might do from the topic, this one topic. And there, that was the start, like building up the self worth.
Yes, yes. And because my need for learning is constant and never ending, I mastered image and then became very bored with it. And of course, I did these things for myself personally. And then I realized I should be teaching this. And then I learned etiquette and then communication skills. And then after quite a few years, companies are calling and say, we want a leadership coach. Okay, I guess that must be me because they was me. Now, I've never thought of myself as a leadership coach, but the reality is, what do leadership coaches really do? They help people with all aspects of their life to gain confidence and self esteem and put on the cloak of greatness. And that's what my role is.
Beautiful. And there as well, like stepping up, saying yes to the calling, like, okay, that's me. I can do that. So if there are people now listening to this and saying like, yeah, but I'm not feeling worthy. I know I have a low self-esteem and self-confidence because of this and that happened to me. So where would you start helping them? What would be the steps they could take on their path?
Great question. I recommend when people come to see me about changing their life, I feel it's sort of like a butterfly. And if they cloak themselves in something beautiful and attractive and get maybe a different hairstyle or show them the right kind of cosmetics color wise, then they look better. And then that starts the wheel of increasing the self esteem internally. And then I teach them how to accept compliments. If someone says, oh, that dress is simply lovely on you, they shouldn't say, well, I've had it for 5 years. Do you think it's really me? You know, they'll downgrade themselves. A compliment is always thank you very much. Or when you meet someone, look them in the eye, give them a handshake, and say, I'm simply delighted to meet you. It's all about ambassador skills. I use that word frequently in my work. We should become an ambassador for ourselves, our company, and our country. And that gives you the ability to rise above all the clutter, the anger, the wars, and all the other things that we cannot fix. But we can fix others and ourselves with a heart to heart connection of acceptance.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I have definitely noticed that, like, how much our clothes affect us, our moods. And that sometimes I'm just like, okay, I just want to get rid of those clothes because they have certain energy. They are like connected to certain era. So it's time to let go of them and bring in something new. And yeah, it might sound vain, but I feel that the surroundings and what we wear do affect us.
Definitely. Yes. If I'm having a day where I'm not feeling sizzled up and fabulous, my theory is I just put on a hat and I go downtown. It's not about buying anything, but my collection of hats, fascinator hats especially, are over 100. And I put on one of those fun hats and I get at least 35 compliments a day. And people are magnetized by those silly hats, but I love them. And I noticed that that gave me the confidence to attend even such a social meeting, because without a voice in the early years, I was useless basically, and put on that silly hat that I love so much. People magnetically were attracted to me and they would say, I love your hat. And then I could say, well, thank you. As an image and etiquette coach, it's my job to look simply fabulous. And that's one of the ways I found a voice.
Beautiful. I love that. And I love the idea like having something, whether it's hat, whether it's a scarf, or something that you feel good in, and that it
Correct.
gets attention, and that way you can start also practicing how to take in compliments.
That I try to add a little bit of silliness to life. So when I'm training some of the ladies to become image and etiquette consultants, part of the time we take them to the stores and show them what looks great on them. But we have a little silly aspect to it. I teach them the diva walk. Instead of being charging through life, stroll through life with a little hip movement in beautiful high heels and act like you haven't got a care in the world. And of course they laugh and they have some fun with it, but it's a very powerful trigger in a positive way. I'm a diva. And with gentlemen, I've actually, during seminars, I remember one in specifically, this man was wearing an average tie and he was rather handsome. And I took him by the tie and I pulled him over to me. He was seated, I was standing, and I said, Sir, you are far too handsome to wear this ugly tie. He took off that tie and he threw it away. And that was his breakthrough trigger moment to realize he was worthy of more, and his self esteem just zoomed.
It's a and I love that you bring little bit of silliness, because sometimes we take ourselves too seriously, and when you have the little silliness there, it comes more fun. And
Yes. That's an NLP technique. Are you familiar with NLP,
I
neuro programming? Well, that's one of the techniques that I've used in the business world and personally to bond someone very close to you, to allow your credibility factor and your trust connection to be so much higher. So that's a very valuable skill.
it is indeed. And now, if people would like to know more about you and your work, how could they contact you or find more information?
Well, I'm thrilled to say that I have a great website, and I'm actually finally given into social media because I realize that's the manner that we connect with each other first. People have to get to know you, like you, and trust you, and that often begins with what they read, see, and sense, and what they feel as well. So Gloria Starr was 2 R's in star.com, and pretty easy to find on all the social media sites. I find it's a way of connecting in your own home with someone that's safe. Now, interestingly enough, almost everyone finds the website, and I get calls all through the night because I have clients all over the world. I remember one gentleman calling at 9 o'clock on Sunday night. I wasn't even home. I was out with friends for dinner. And he said, I've been on the website and you are the right person. Call me back as soon as you can. And I'm thinking, well, does that mean at 11 o'clock tonight or tomorrow? He hired me to work with a young man who had a fabulous business idea, but wasn't projecting himself as effectively as he could. So I had got a 5-day contract working with that gentleman. At 11 o'clock at night, I called back. So it's fascinating, and you never know who's going to hire you. I would say that the biggest surprise to me was when the Pentagon hired me here in the United States and the military. And the biggest surprise was the opportunity to do 10 days of training at the palace in Saudi Arabia, teaching the staff how to serve etiquette and dinner parties to the diplomats. So it can be any range from someone who wants to do the kind of work that I do to a politician to just about anybody, doctors, someone who'd like to find a great husband. Who knows? They all have their strategies, and my job is to help them shine in whatever their quest in life is.
Beautiful. And I just love you're full of surprises. Like and the beauty of you is that you if somebody calls you take the call like okay let's
Thank
do
you,
this
Paul.
like you help them to shine their light. So
Yes.
thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview. And it was such a pleasure to connect with you and chat with you here.
Thank you.
So thank you for watching Path to Purpose show. If you want to keep connected, please do subscribe to the channel and we see you soon again. Bye for now.